everybody. So welcome to this grounding exercise with me. I'm Fiona McDonough of Love Clinic, based here in Gort in County Galway. So what I'm going to introduce you to is mountain pose, but we're going to do it in a really nice, slow, mindful way. And what I find is a wonderful thing to do when you're going to do a pose that requires you just to stop and be, to stand. Yeah, it's quite a mindful pose, is that sometimes you just need to have a little shake and work a few glitches out of your body first before you come into this slow mindful pose. So grounding is all about your connection through your feet really to the earth. Now I am actually inside, but I'm on if you can tell, I'm on a wool-backed, this is Irish wool-backed yoga mat. It's lovely, it's really nice for the winter I find, and lovely on my bare toesies. So just to start, we're just going to begin from our head and working our way down to our feet, just to give ourselves a little loosening up, we could say, before we go into a standing pose. And of course you don't have to do this every time you're doing it, and once you've got the gist of mountain pose in a slow kind of mindful way, it becomes a practice. So it's a lot, I don't like to say quicker, but it won't take as long probably to achieve it, the same aim, because you know the awareness in your body and how it should feel. So it takes a lot less each time you go to do it. So starting, we're just going to start with our nose and merely making circles with your nose. So you're just loosening the head up on the top of your neck, nice and slow. Maybe you get a few creaks, like a little click, maybe not. Do it 5 times in one direction. And then we're going to go 5 times again in the opposite way. I find this a wonderful thing, just to loosen up the head from the neck. Our head is a seriously heavy part of our bodies, and because of our sinuses it's a bit lighter, but it is quite heavy on the top of our necks. You could be going 90, there can be a lot going on in it. Sometimes just to find a little bit of extra space can be lovely. And then we're just going to move it slowly down more towards our neck. And what I'd like you to do is you're going to move your head left and right, looking over towards your shoulder. Go to whatever distance feels comfortable to you. I've got a thing on the left side of my neck, a leftover from a car crash. And I just find, though I have range of movement, it's a place that I can feel it. So I'm mindful of it, I don't force it too much, I just see where it's at. What I like is to start kind of slowly, so exhaling and going right or left, it doesn't matter. Inhaling back to centre, and just exhaling to the other side. There's always that sense if it gets a bit stuck. It doesn't look like it from the outside, but I can feel it. It feels different than the right hand side. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And just do it one more time on the other side. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. And coming back to centre. We're going to then move towards our shoulders. All I like to do is inhale and lift my shoulders towards my ears. Really exhale and sigh. And letting them drop. You can roll them a little bit if you like, rolling them up towards your ears. And exhaling, letting them drop inside. And when you do drop inside, you should feel your shoulder blades moving down the back here, at the back. And obviously creating a little bit more space between the shoulders and the neck. And you can roll them backwards as well. So you feel your shoulder blades moving towards one another. And so rolling them back and up. Exhaling. And the sigh is actually really good, because the sigh actually vibrates the vocal cord slightly, which activates your vagus nerve, which is here at the back of your neck. So a sigh isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you've got teenagers, you know all about sighing. So inhaling and rounding your shoulders back and up. You don't have to round them if you don't want to. You don't have to roll them slightly. I kind of like it. It loosens them out a little bit more. And so then we're going to move kind of to the spine area and the hips. And I find a nice way to do this is putting your hands on your hips And just start by rotating your hips a little bit in a little circle, pushing your bum out a little bit, left and right, pushing forward. Again, going to your own pace, your own level which feels comfortable for you. And then just going in the opposite direction. At the moment we're just kind of loosening out the lower back and the hips. Nothing too fancy. Nice way, get into it. Feel your legs moving. And then as you incorporate that a little bit more, you really bend your knees into it, so it becomes like this circle that incorporates both the knees and the ankles, and you really lean forward and leaning back and just working it out a little bit. Oh, there's a nice click there. Going again in the opposite direction. Nice. I'm just going to come to a pause for a moment, and just before we move into our mountain pose, I'm just taking our right hand and just sliding it down your right leg as far as feels comfortable for you. You feel a little stretch up that left hand side of your body. And going down the left hand, down the left leg. Standing straight as you can. Not too much focus on standing or straight. I'm not really focusing in too much. It's just a little strong, gentle stretch to the left and right side of your body. So then we're going to move into our slow mountain pose, Tadasana. So if you're not familiar with it, in yoga they refer to the four corners of your feet. So I'm just going to come a little bit closer to the camera, and I'm going to hold up the sole of my feet. You do not have to balance on one leg to do this. So the four corners of your feet, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And the idea is, between those four corners, you should feel a balance between those on the floor. So I'm going to talk you through, I'm going to demo it, so hopefully you can see what I mean. So what I like to do is, if you stand with your feet together, and then you swing around a little bit on your heels, you've got to look like Charlie Chaplin, and then coming up on your feet. You don't have to come up super high, just a little bit on the balls of your feet and turning them around. And you are then at hip distance apart. It's a nice way to find it. Or you can do it where you've got a foot and you kind of mark it with your other foot and stand about foot distance apart. There's lots of ways of doing it. You can do mountain pose with your feet together. I actually find if my feet are together and my ankle bones kind of touching, I feel a bit wobbly. So I like to do it with my feet apart. It's like a lot of things, it's adaptable. So we're going to try and find those four corners of our feet to start, as that's our connection to the earth. So I find if you put your hands on your hips, you lean a little bit forward, so you'll be kind of falling, as it were, pushing into the front too, lean back, and you're connecting with the back too. And go a little bit more center, go left, so you'll feel the inside of your right foot, say, the outside of your left foot. Back to center, over to the other side, and feel the inside of your left foot and the outside of your right foot. And then come back to center and see, can you find the four corners of your feet? And it might feel different how you normally stand, okay? Just be aware of that. And as you stand, you may need to shift a little bit and change it a little bit. We often go, oh, I'm on it now, I'm not on it. Oh, this is a mindful awareness for you. You'll know if you found the four corners of your feet. I like to lift my toes and then try to bring them down and spread them out as much as possible. It's not a cure for bunions, but it can be helpful to prevent them. Those spacers you get for painting nails or toenails, it can be good as well. It just helps the bone to realign itself. I'm not saying it's a cure, by the way. If you've got bad bunions, it could be helpful, but you might find it a little stretch of the muscles in the opposite direction to what they're used to. So when you have that sense of the four corners of your feet, and that may not come on practice 1, that might come on practice 10, it might happen on practice 4. We are going to get that sense of strength in our legs. And they say engaging the thighs and lifting the kneecaps can be quite a hard thing to isolate thighs and kneecaps. So what I like to do in my yoga classes is a technique that I was taught by somebody else, that's not mine, is pressing down into the mat and getting that sense that you're pulling the mat apart with your feet. And what that does is it really engages the thighs, it engages the knees, it lifts them up, and you really feel this sense of a shift on your hips. Now, of course, if you've got any hip issues going on, you might find that this is not the most comfortable for you. So really do tune into your body and where your body is at and what its story is. And then we want to try and engage this lower abdomen area. So what you do is you kind of tuck in and up. It's not just sucking in your stomach, it's a lower abdomen, it's below your belly button. And again, it's one of those, it might take you some time to find it. I find it a really good thing if you're lying down actually to help get an awareness into the engaging of this area. So we'll say in and up. And then I feel my shoulders are kind of coming a little bit forward as all of these focus on my lower body. I want to bring my shoulders up towards my ears and mindful and aware of those shoulder blades going down the back. So you're broadening across here, your shoulder blades are moving to each other at the back, and arms are coming down by your side with your palms facing forward. And then your neck, of course, is part of your spine, so you want to tip your chin towards your chest just a little bit. So you're straightening up the spine and closing our eyes. Now really pushing into the four corners of your feet, having that sense of pulling the mat apart, engaging that lower abdomen area. Shoulders, nice space between the ears and the shoulders, hands down by your side. Eyes are gently closed, or if you want, you can look forward and down. I find eyes closed works for me, may not work for you. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Tadasana, mountain pose. So you should feel strength in this pose. Could somebody come along a rugby tackle and knock you over? Perhaps. Strengthen your being, your connection to the earth. And to feel that sense of grounding in our bodies at any time where we're very busy in our heads, there's a lot going on, you're maybe anxious or stressing out about something, pushing into the four corners of your feet. You can do this in your shoes, standing in a post office queue. Of course, it's lovely if you can do it in your bare feet. You can do it in your socks on your kitchen floor. You can do it under a desk, in your shoes, in your socks, if you're having, a stressful moment. Pushing into the four corners of your feet, pushing into your feet, grounding into the earth. It's a really, really good thing. The earth gives back its electromagnetic force. It's a pulse, as it were, a vibration, a resonance, and it's there, so we can tap into that. So grounding, earthing is a way where you walk on your bare feet on the earth, not to be recommended at this time of the year in Ireland perhaps, because you might end up with a different problem. But certainly indoors, wool, beautiful, and warm too. Carpet, perfect, a mat, anything. Or as I say, mountain pose, a grounding pose. One that we do a lot in yoga, but you may not always have given it that attention. So I do hope for those that may not be familiar with all the parts of it, this may have helped you to understand just a little bit more. Thank you for your practice. Have a good day.